we're live everywhere now. So, aloha from Hawaii. And I wanted to jam about Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday, vulnerability and loving kindness topics, okay? And at first, I was just going to talk about loving kindness. And as I was writing the podcast, I was like, ooh, a lot is coming up for me with vulnerability around this. I had this medicine journey last week where I went really deep and noticed that I had kind of almost like a casing, like an armor around my heart, right? And I realized that I had that there for a sense of like protection, right? And I also realized that while I thought it was keeping me safe from being hurt again, right? Like being hurt again in terms of like being disappointed by people because people let me down, or by maybe loving someone so much. And what if they die or I lose them? Like this came up when I thought about my daughter. I was like, wow, here I am thinking I love her so much, yet I could tell during this journey that there was a part of me that was not opening because of this fear of loving so much. And that's where the vulnerability comes in, right? Because we think, if I open up, someone can hurt me again. And is that true? I mean, technically, it means they could do something that has you experience a difficult emotion. Yeah, it could be that you ask someone for help and they let you down. It could be that you love a pet and something happens to it. But we think that this armoring up and that this protection helps us, right? Oh, but then I won't suffer as much. But think about this. Think about, what is the ultimate protection if you were to lose someone that you really cared about in terms of protecting your heart? What I have come to the conclusion about is the truest refuge, the truest protection is knowing that you loved fully, right? Because we can sit here and think, I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to love fully because you might fucking disappoint me, right? You might let me down just like so-and-so did, or you might let me down like you did last time, right? But then, what if something does happen to someone? It's not that our heart's going to be like, oh, good thing I didn't become vulnerable with that person, because then I'd be in so much pain. No, what ends up happening, and trust me, I know this, when you lose someone you love, what you think about is, did I love them well? Did I love fucking hard? Did I love fully? I have a friend who lost her child. And she said sometimes people hold back affection towards their children in front of her because she thinks they like worry it'll trigger, like, oh, she doesn't have her child here to do that. And she said, that doesn't trigger me at all. She said, you know what triggers me? What triggers me is when people have their child there trying to get their attention and they're on their fucking phone and they're all distracted and they're taking their child's presence for granted. That's what triggers me. So similarly, we may think that protecting our hearts keeps us from suffering later, but it doesn't. What keeps us from suffering later, y'all, is showing up fully with loving kindness, right? Now, in Buddhism, loving kindness is a specific practice to like generate the sense of loving kindness. And traditionally, you're taught to kind of do these phrases, right? Like, may I be free. You start with yourself. So you're like, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be safe from inner and outer dangers. May I be well in body and mind. May I be at ease and happy. Then you say the same thing to other people. And, like, may you be filled with loving kindness. And you generate this intention, right? But I have learned that many people don't resonate with those phrases. And so I wanted to focus during this more on like other ways that we can cultivate loving kindness, right? So, but like, why is this important? And in terms of like what loving kindness does is it heals disconnection. It heals the severing that we've had from those we love, from this sense of connection to others and to the bigger picture. So I'm going to read this little essay, okay, called Ordinary Heartbreak by David Levine. She climbs easily on the box that seats her above the swivel chair at adult height, crosses her legs, left ankle over right, smooths the plastic apron over her lap while the beautician lifts her ponytail and laughs, "This is coarse as a horse's tail." The woman at once whacks off and tosses its foot and a half into the trash. And the little girl who didn't want a haircut, but long ago learned successfully how not to say what it is she wants, who even at this minute cannot quite grasp her shock and grief, is getting her hair cut. For convenience, her mother put it, and the long waves gone that had been evidence at night when loosened from their clasp, she might secretly be a princess. And rather than cry out, she grips her own wrist and looks to her mother in the mirror, but her mother's too polite or too reserved, so the girl herself takes up indifference, while pain follows a hidden channel to a deep place almost unknown in her. Convinced as she is that her own emotions are not the ones her life depends on, she lifts her gaze from her mother's face, shifts it back to the haircut now, so steadily as if this short-haired child were someone else. Do you remember those moments, like when you were young? When like your desires and your feelings just felt totally ignored? You know, that's a severing. The severing of our hearts, the closing off of our hearts, the armoring up of our hearts, often also is taught to us by culture. Our parents bear the teachings of our culture, right? So I think about like with animals, like in some cultures, a dog is like our best friend. In other cultures, a dog is dirty. In other cultures, a dog is for protection. Like I have Lamu, right? She looks like a fucking Ewok. And she can't shoot arrows and shit. And like in Alaska, everybody has like fucking wolf dogs. And in Hawaii, they put pit bulls. And I was like, I don't understand why you have a dog that can't protect you. I'm like, because it's fucking cute and soft. Like there are other reasons to have a dog. And so anyway, we are taught sort of how much our hearts open up to certain things or not, right? And then of course we have our natural inclinations that can override that. But I want you to see that we close off because of culture often, right? So I'm trying to find this other reading here. Beautiful poem, which I love. Okay. Oh, here, Anne Garberg says, to love someone is to learn the song in their heart and sing it to them when they have forgotten. So yeah, we can do loving kindness meditation or practice, with the phrases, but loving kindness shows up most and has the most impact, I feel like, when we express it. Like Maya Angelou said, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, people won't remember what you did, right? But they will remember how you made them feel. I think about when my dad was dying, and I was just wanting to connect so badly because we had a complicated relationship. And I didn't know what was going to be the thing that did that. But as he was dying, I had my head like on his chest. I was in bed with him. He was at the VA hospital, or at the VA geriatric psych center. And I put my hand on his chest and he said, "You were my best creation." Our words have so much power. Like Danielle Laporte said, our words are arrows. Take aim. Like when you express loving kindness, do it wholeheartedly, do it so deeply, right? So there are other ways. So we can use words to people. We can hug them. We can imagine them in our minds and send them love, right? But our natural tendency is to love fully, actually. This armoring, this protection, this is conditioned to us. So ultimately, we want to be able to trust that we can open our hearts and love fully. I mean, like Ram Dass, I feel like was just such a good example of this, because he was like all about love, right? There's a great quote I'm trying to find by him. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it on this call. Oh, I did find this one though that I wanted to read for you. This is from Sri Nisargadatta. He says, all I plead with you is this: make love of yourself perfect. Deny yourself nothing. Give yourself infinity and eternity, and discover that you do not need them. You are beyond. All I plead with you is make love of yourself perfect. It starts there. And think about it. When you reach that place that we don't need all that stuff, like once we've given it to ourselves and have the deep realization we don't need it, do you think it's that you're going to be like a selfish asshole, or do you think it's easier to love people? I mean, you can go experiment with yourself, but a lot of people think, well, I love myself. Isn't that like very un-Buddhist, like to put myself first and to like not focus on others? But here's the thing. We start there, because then when you have a felt experience of it, you're going to be opening up your heart to be able to give more fully to others. And I don't know, y'all, like, what does the world need right now? It needs more fucking loving kindness. I'll tell you that. I mean, we've always needed it, but it's like that shit's ramping up, okay? We really need you to be doing this right now. So on the podcast that drops tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about when you have challenges with sending yourself loving kindness, other practices to help with loving kindness. But here's the take home. Here's the take home from Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday today. The two main things that I want you to grok from loving kindness, right, are that you see the goodness in others, which is a practice because we're conditioned to be scared and to look for what's wrong. But we see the goodness in others, and then we express that to that person, right? So if you had one action to do today as like a take-home thing from this, I would say think about someone you love and let them know how much you care about them. You can text them, you can call them, you can tell them in person, you can send a letter. Letters, remember those? You get to choose the paper, the ink, they can smell it, they can put it in their pocket, they can keep it in a safe place, they can look at it later. Let someone you care about know that you care about them. And maybe someone that you don't tell that often, right? Because this is such a powerful practice. Imagine like when you felt seen, right? When you feel seen, when you feel cared for and loved, how special that is. When someone's like, hey, I see you, I see your goodness, and I fucking care about you. So we can start that by starting to express that to people that we love, okay? So, vulnerability, because the true refuge is to show up in integrity and fully, not to avoid suffering and pain, okay? See the goodness in others and express it, okay? That's what I got for you today. Now, we're not going to have Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday for the next 2 weeks because it's going to be holidays and I'm taking some time off. But the podcast will be dropping every week. So check that shit out. And then we're going to start off 2022 with a fucking bang. Maybe I'll hop on. We'll see. All right. I'm sending you so much love, everyone. Thanks, Lisa, Missy, Catherine, Ann. You're welcome, Jordan. Okay, bye, Carrie. Hey, y'all, have an amazing solstice is coming up. It's going to be the shortest day of the year, which means the sun is going to be coming back and it's going to be amazing. Okay? Okay. Sending you lots of love. Bye. Ciao, everyone. Now we got to shut all these down. You're welcome. Yeah, I know. Bye, Sharon.